go back to class pending the speedy resolutions of these matters as already agreed upon between us and the Commission.
As promised on August 21st, 2021, the Commission is today pleased to confirm that the government provided funds for the implementation of the second phase of the CBA with effect from the 1st July 2024, and all our teachers have benefited from the same together with the arrears attendance. Therefore, the government has successfully implemented all the provisions of the 2021-2025 CBA with the teacher unions. Specifically, the second phase of the CBA, which was due on 1st July 2024, was duly paid in August 2024 together with arrears. To this end, the Commission issued the implementation circular. We have a copy attached. If you want it, we can get it from our corporate communications team to all teacher unions, including CUPET, as envisaged in the CBA. Further to the full CBA 2021-2025 implementation, the Commission has addressed other issues that were raised by the CUPET as follows. 1. Review of the CPG. This has begun in earnest.
The members of the National Executive Board, mandated by the National Governing Council, that we were supposed to explore all means to engage and give the teachers more resolutions on the issues that they have.
Nambale Boys High School in Busia County has suffered significant losses after one of the school's dormitories caught fire and was completely destroyed. According to the school's principal, Tom Amadi Mboya, the fire consumed valuable items including uniforms, books, and the school infrastructure, affecting over 80 students. An appeal has been made to well-wishers and good Samaritans to help the affected students return to normalcy, with Form 4 students being the most affected. Fortunately, no injuries were reported despite the destruction of property, while investigations into the cause of the fire is ongoing.
As they come back, they will need to have blankets. They will need to have personal effects like soap and so on. Most of the things which are banned. They are from folks who have lost their notes in that damage. And most of them are still at home, so they may be forced to rewrite their notes for them to start revising for the exam.
God has made sure that no life was lost, but we are also saying you are not responsible for this problem. Investigations are going on. It's not a good thing, we are all agreeing, but we don't want it to dampen your spirit. This is third term. We are having Form 4s who are going to be facing exams, and even yourselves. We want to say, as Busia community, we stand with you. We are going to support you to come through this problem. But more important is to safeguard the future security of here so that such an incident does not happen again.
At Bungoma Boys High School, a fire destroyed the school's library, and the cause of the fire is yet to be determined. According to the school's principal, Enoch Andanje, the fire started at around 6:30 p.m. and the students' cries alerted them to the blaze. Andanje mentioned that a thorough investigation is still ongoing to determine the cause of the fire, which began on the upper floor. However, the just ended teacher strike has been blamed for the rise in fire incidents in schools.
At 6:30 a.m. we were all awake. In fact, for me, I was planning to travel, and I heard some noise from the students, and so I rushed out. We all went. We tried to put off fire, lakini haikuwezekana. Tukajaribu kupikia watu wa moto, wamekuja kama wamechelewa kidogo kwa sababu gari ilikuwa mbali. Nimeambiwa ilikuwa Nzoia. The ground floor ndio library, ndio iko na vitabu, iko na ofisi za walimu, na ndio iko na vitu vingi. Sasa moto ulianzia juu. Juu is just a hall, just an open hall. Lakini wanafunzi wengine walikuwa wameweka hapa mattresses, wale ambao wameenda nyumbani walikuwa wameweka hapa mattresses, wameweka hapa boxes zao. Hatujui nini kimesababisha moto huo. Investigations girl zinaendelea. Najua ni tushafikia uamuzi fulani, tutawaita alafu nitawapatia habari kamili. Lakini jengo hilo ni jengo la ghorofa, ni library. Ni library na liko na floor 2. Wanafunzi ambao wako shuleni saa hizi ni form 4 peke yao. Na ni wanafunzi 479. Kwa sababu si wote wamekuja, kuna wengine bado hawajafungua. Wala form 4. Nitakana wawe 485. So wanafunzi 6 bado walikuwa hawajafungua.
Nataka kusema kwamba jinsi tunavyoendelea kwa sasa, mambo ya mikomo ambayo inaendelea imeweza kuchangia labda kuweza kusababisha kuchoma dormitory hii, labda maana watoto wakiwa shuleni hawana walimu, ni kama wako idle mind, wakiwa hawana kitu cha kufanya ama kujihudumia wenyewe peke yao, inaweza kuwa changamoto. Kwa hivyo mikomo inaweza kuwa inachangia, na labda mengine yanaendelea kuja katika taifa la Kenya. Ombi langu limekuwa kwamba ingekuwa vyema serikali na wote wanaohusika kwa ajili ya walimu kuendelea na mkomo wao, wangeweza kuja pamoja wasungumzane ili wakaweze kufikia hali ya kukubaliana.
University of Nairobi students held demonstrations early on Monday to protest against the new university funding model. The students marched to the Ministry of Education offices at Jogoo House in Nairobi, strongly criticizing the new system, claiming that many of them will struggle to afford the education due to tuition fees and other charges that will force parents to dig deeper into their pockets. This protest comes as new university students are expected to join their institutions this week amidst emerging issues regarding the new funding system.
My name is Mazaro Chandegwa. Mimi ndio rais wa UN. Na kwanza I'm very disappointed. We came here with a clear agendas on what we want to discuss about the new funding model mainly. Now we made it clear to them that one ni jukumu la serikali to give us education. See, it's a favor that they are doing us. It is very obvious because one thing we pay taxes, unaona. Na hata yule mtu ambaye ako huko Marsabit, ako Mandera, ako Kwale, ako Budalangi, ako wapi, they do their jobs, they pay taxes. Pia wewe where you work you pay taxes, ndio. So what was there, or what was the outcome there was like sasa serikali kama like they are doing us a favor to pay for our school fees, because there are so many statistics. Don't know all universities being insolvent because you can't afford paying your lecturers, blah blah blah, like mingi tu. Lakini honestly, genuinely ni jukumu la serikali ku give the school fees because you pay taxes, unaona. Hiyo sasa ni kama sasa ni mzazi anahepa jukumu lake kama baba kambo. Mimi sasa ili jukumu la kulea mtoto na chia mama, maana mtoto si wangu. So sisi already we have the petition here, tumewapatia tukapaka, unaona, like even have genuine concerns that one with this new funding model, it reduce access to education because many is killing our many dreams, unaona. Two, there be more burden to our parents who can't even afford food, unaona. Mzazi kulipa sijui 1200, like they can't, unaona. Haya demands were very clear. One, we want them to revert back to the DUC model. Yes. They said the old DUC ni ngumu because hawana pesa. Tukwambia it is your duty because we pay taxes. Sure. See, it's a privilege, it's a favor. It's your duty to give us free and affordable education. Yeah. No, that's number one. Or if you don't work with the NFM, watu band 5 na band 4. Yeah. Work na band 1, 2 and 3. Unaona. Ndio pia kila moja access. Because you see, because one thing as a country, and shida.
The University Academic Staff Union, WASU, at the Technical University of Kenya is currently on strike after the expiration of a notice issued on August 26th. The union is demanding salary payments as per the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement and the prompt remittance of legal deductions and loans.
And today, we are here to officially declare to the public and the employer that there shall be no learning meetings, supervision, workshops, nothing that involves members of the academic staff will take place until our issues are adequately addressed. We want respect as employees of these institutions, and more so members of the academic staff. We want dignity when we do our work. We do not want to be treated like we are members of a second-rate university in this university. We have one university, not two universities.
We don't offer 65% services.
We do not work at any percentage. We work 100%.
Yes.
And so, our treatment as employees must also be commensurate. We had 6 items in the strike notice. Number 1, we want to be paid salaries like any other university, not at a rate lower than what the government is paying other universities. Number 2, we want remittance of our statutory and third-party deductions. NHIF,
Yes.
NSSF,
Yes.
pension,
Yes.
KRA,
Yes.
bank loans,
Yes.
SACCO loans,
Yes.
insurance, and many other statutory deductions. Our colleagues who have been taken to court by financial institutions because the employer has made deductions and has not remitted. We feel for them, but we will take the employer to court beginning today,
Yes.
so that we are paid for embarrassment by being dragged to court when we have actually paid our loans.
Yes.
Number 3, working conditions. We are supposed to work under conditions that are recognized nationwide and countrywide as provided for under the Employment Act and the Labor Relations Act.
All right, so let's quickly go through the newspapers before we get into the conversation this morning. Top of the Daily Nation is on the teachers' strike. Win-lose deal that ended tutors' strike. Win-lose deal that ended tutors' strike. Now, in the education sectors, they've written it, back to work formula signed amid claims of non-fulfillment of teachers' demands. Now, one of the things that was at the center of this particular strike was on the promotion of teachers, the appointment of teachers, particularly the JSS teachers, 42,000 of them, to the permanent and pensionable terms. Also their health insurance, which they say is not duly being fulfilled. Now, KUPPET successfully negotiates for restoration of the previously reduced medical allocation. The TSC as well actively working to secure funds to promote as many teachers as possible. And top officials storms out, insisting on a concrete return to work formula. And that was a news that broke late last evening. And it came at such a bad time because a lot of schools had already sent their students back home, or at least were on their way back home. And so that means perhaps this morning they've had now to go back to school yet again, and just the inconveniences around that, especially for parents. Now, inside the TSC deal with teachers that ended 1 week strike, the KUPPET called for the strike, demanding full implementation of the CBA, among other grievances. Now, the announcement came amid claims of arm twisting and non-fulfillment of the teachers' demands. But union officials say the decision was informed by the recent progress on sticky issues that initially led to the industrial action. The announcement came as a surprise since barely 24 hours early on Sunday, the decision-making organ of the union, that is the National Governing Council, met in Nairobi and resolved to press on with the strike until the employer signed a return to work formula with them. So that is one side of the strike. Now, another strike as well that is clearly somewhere near is the civil servants strike. Now, state nightmare as civil servants threaten to down tolls over CBA. Now, government operations could be disrupted in the coming weeks after civil servants threatened to strike if they do not receive a pay rise at the end of the month. Already beleaguered by a crippling teachers' strike that is shutting down schools, the Kenya Kwanza administration faces another industrial action by the Union of Kenya Civil Servants. Union delegates who converged in Nairobi on Monday resolved that their members will boycott work at the end of the month should the government fail to fully implement the second phase of their collective bargaining agreement. The SG Odege Tom Mboya said that the second salary increment was supposed to be implemented by July this year, but this did not reflect. So that's another strike as well that is in the offing now. You may call this a striking nation because it's not just teachers who've just actually completed their strike yesterday. You've also got the Kenya Aviation Workers Union who are on strike. You've got the civil servants who are striking. You've got university students who are striking against the new university funding model. And so it's a question of just how does the administration deal with such multiple strikes at the same time, all putting into consideration that funding is just at the center of it. So that is the headline on the Daily Nation this morning on the win-lose deal that ended tutors' strike. Also, it speaks of Uhuru's role in Raila AUC campaigns. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta supports former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's quest to become the African Union Commission chairperson. His office said yesterday, as it emerged, that he was using his old networks to campaign for him. Interestingly, Odinga is on that particular tour with President William Ruto for the China-Africa Summit. Now, the Standard speaks of the same as well, push that got Kuppet to end teachers' strike. Now, teachers will be expected to recover lost time after the pressure from government officials saw union leaders accede to TSC's demand to call off the strike that had paralyzed learning and had some schools closed and candidates fretting over the next month's exam. Now, good news is it was just a one-week strike. Question is, will teachers be able to recover in time, especially for those that are candidates who are expected to sit for the Form 4 examination? So that is a story that is on page 10, 11 of the Standard newspaper this morning. Kuppet eats humble pie, calls off strike with same deal. It rejected, as well as confusion after schools send students home to avoid unrest. Like I've said now, puts parents in a catch-22 situation this morning because there are some that were actually on their way back home yesterday. Some perhaps had not even arrived home when that announcement came in. And so the parents will have to now organize yet again how the students will get to school this morning. As well as proposed law to shield new governors purge, a proposed law to shield new governors purge. Now, the Council of Governors seeks to shield newly elected governors from impeachment. The council says removal from office soon after an election will unsettle a governor's administration. The Senate committee told impeachment should not be used as a tool for constant political harassment. So the COG Chief Executive Mary Mwiti said this during a presentation before the Senate Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which is chaired by Bomet Senator Hilary Sigei, on the County Government's Procedure Bill 2024, sponsored by Kiambu Senator Karungo Thangwa. Mwiti told the Senate committee that a 2-year period allows a newly elected governor to establish the administration and implement their agenda. So they hope that they'll be able to protect governors, especially new governors, in office. So that is the headline on the Standard this morning. As well as in China for business, President William Ruto, Raila Odinga arriving at the Beijing Capital International Airport in China for the 9th forum of the China-Africa Cooperation Summit. The interesting question you're asking is why Odinga is on that tour, but you'd note that he's now vying for the African Union Commission chairperson. So if it's a China-Africa Cooperation Summit, meaning there are other African heads of state and governments who are likely to be there, and so he'll be hoping to perhaps woo them one way or the other to vote for him come February 2025 in the AUC elections. Now, finally, the Star, how the wealthy rig out youth in tenders. How the wealthy are rigging out youth in tenders. Agencies fail to meet rule to award 30% of procurement bids to disadvantaged groups. Now, if there's one thing that causes a lot of division, especially amongst, the classes, whether it's upper class, lower class, or middle classes, matters to do with procurement, especially procurement from government tenders. because the Star puts it at how moneyed class rigs procurement tenders for the needy. Now, powerful individuals are cheating their way to a chunk of 146 billion shillings procurement contracts meant for youth, women, and people with disabilities. It has emerged that this unethical conduct has been ongoing for the last 2 financial years, some giving them nothing at all, although they're required to reserve 30%. Several state agencies are not meeting with the requirement to award those opportunities to disadvantaged groups. Those are the youth, women, and people with disabilities. And so that is the headline on top of the page of the Star, as well as political battles as MPs fight to take over as governors. Babu Owino, Embakasi East MP is on top of the page. Didmas Baraza, Kimilili MP, Godfrey Osotsi, Vihiga Senator, James Gakuya, Embakasi Central Member of Parliament, Momanyi, Nyamira Women Representative, Katole Metito, State House Comptroller, Mohamed Ali, Nyali Member of Parliament, Mark Nyamita, Uriri Member of Parliament, Silvana Sosoro, South Mogirango MP, as well as Tim Wanyonyi, the Westlands Member of Parliament. So political battles as MPs fight to take over as governors. So those are the headlines on the papers this morning on the Star. How the wealthy rig out youths in tenders, the Standard push that got Kuppet to end teachers' strike, while the Nation speaks of win-lose deal that ended tutors' strike. All right, so do allow us to take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll be getting into the conversation this morning around the state of democracy. Article 1 of the Constitution gives power to the people. And so with the marking of 14 years since the 2010 Constitution, have the people actually exercised that particular power in terms of decisions they make, leaders they elect into office, policies that are put up in place which they do not agree with or which they do agree with? So we'll be having an extensive conversation around that as well. So stay with us. We'll be back shortly with the two gentlemen joining me in studio this morning. Don't go anywhere. About democracy, where are we at as a country at this particular moment, especially coming back on the backdrop of 3, I'd say, crucial months since June, July, August in Kenya's political landscape, where the decisions have had to be made by the people and the government has had to bow down to those decisions at times, or not all times. So we'll take a look at just what are some of the biggest hindrances to the voice of the people, especially in a country where we boast so much of one of the best constitutions across the world, but it has its own fair share of challenges. So we'd love to understand that, especially around as well ethnic issues that have risen up or cropped up in recent times. Tribal lands have been drawn in the country, and that has been one of the biggest divisions as well. What exactly is pushing that, and how do we overcome that in the country? Now, talk about the executive and the decisions that are made. Do we tend as a country at times to be in a position where the executive influences decisions in the government or in the country much more than what people would want to have done? And so we'll have that conversation. Your feedback is highly welcomed across our social media platforms. That is on EBN TV. Our feedback lines are open. Our SMS number is 23059. Do give us your comments, views, questions perhaps that you may have concerning this conversation this morning. Let me introduce the gentleman joining me in studio. On my immediate right, I'm joined by Nelson Omoyo, who's a political scientist. Thank you very much, Nelson, for your time this morning. And just next to him is Kiarie Kenneth, who's a democracy and political expert as well. Thank you very much, Kiarie. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
All right, so gentlemen, last week was 14 years since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, a document that really begins with one of the most important sentiments which has been used quite a lot, and that is Article 1 of the Constitution, which gives power to the people. I'll begin with you, Nelson, from where you sit. Within these 14 years where we have been using this particular constitution, has that particular article really been, used so much in the country in terms of the decisions made, the policies that are put up in government, the voices of the people? Have the people actually been listened to by the government?
Okay, first I'll say thank you for inviting us to have this wonderful discussion this morning about the democratic space and Article 1 of the Constitution.
Yeah.
I think we've not much fully recognized the power that comes with Article 1. And that's majorly because we Waswahili wanasema mazoea ni taabu. We were so used to the old system that the president was more of a demigod, that when we brought in the new constitution, we did not forget the past. We still lingered through the terms that we had passed, that there are certain individuals who have more power than the others, rather than having a system where the power belongs to the people. You donate it to the government. It's a social contract.
Right. Is it to be argued that perhaps not many Kenyans may understand just the importance of that particular article?
I think majorly it's because of the generation that we have been and the history that comes with the constitution. Now, 14 years, we should not call it new. It's a bit old.
Yeah. All right, so Kerry, I'll come to you. Civic education is quite critical in any democracy for that matter, because what is the essence of having a constitution to which people may not understand or may not know what are the tenets in it, may not understand it? And so when you talk about giving power to the people, because democracy is all about the people who've been given that power or that particular population over state. In terms of civic education, within 14 years, has there been enough civic education for people to understand what their role is in terms of keeping the government in check? What is the role of government in terms of service delivery to the people?
Okay, the democracy in our country is at a very big stake when we say if the people understand according to the constitution. But what I think, most people don't understand because they are ignorant. Because people don't want to really learn or to know what this constitution says and my rights and where it touches me. And you see most people are ignorant, and the reason is because you see the readers that we have, they live under fear. They live under fear. Somebody who is worried that I might fail, and they use this. I may say, let me just state this way and say democracy in Kenya has not been practiced well. Because people who are in power right now didn't use the democratic way to get into power.
How so? We go to elections, we vote leaders in.
Yeah, the reason I say that is because we see them dishing money to people. The reason people don't even follow about democracy is because people are oppressed. People are not organized. The only way I saw people get organized is through social media. They got organized and they came out, the Gen Zs who came and spoke out about their rights. The other ones that we saw, the maandamano, we saw the people trying to tell the government this is what we want. It was through other readers who had interest to get into to government. So democracy for that 14 years since we got this new constitution, I may say yes, the country has developed in different ways. But in terms of people really understanding or knowing what to do, understanding their rights, and trying to defend themselves, that one has not been seen. Because you see, one of the things that has led to this is through maybe religion, where people are tricked by politicians. And this one has made so many people to be ignorant, not even to want to get educated in terms of civic education, to come and understand how a government learns, how a government does its work. So many people don't want to run. They just want to say, tunataka barabara, tunataka hii. But because of that, you find out, maybe from where I come from, maybe from Kiambu, The reason I told you that most of the people fear. The leaders who are there, you know, one of the biggest failure is when you fear to do something. You find maybe like our governor, for example, he fears to lose his seat. And since he knows the people, he knows the people that don't understand this democracy. People understand you give, I take, and I believe in you. So this person is not going to bring development. You know, like for example, I've seen our governor, all he does is he brings to us chicks and pigs and gives to the people. Instead of bringing up infrastructures like roads and like from where I come from Larry, there are no roads. People are tricked, easily tricked. They are lied to. They are given chicken, they are given ungas, and they believe that this person is a very good person. And that's why I say democracy has not been practiced, because people are bought with money. They don't understand the power of the people. The first time I saw the power of the people being spoken in Kenya is when I saw the Gen Z. It made even the government to bow down to their suggestion and their grievances. For the first time, people breached parliament. People showed these readers, we can even take you out of office if you don't change. And I'm saying the new generation that is coming, I think a change is now going to be seen. People being garibled, people being cheated, this thing might come to an end. The only way this might come to an end is those people who want to be in leadership to come up with ways of civic education to the people in the villages. When you go to the church, go and train people about their rights.
Right.
Don't allow them to be lied to. Maybe like the way I'm trying to tell my people from Kiambu, don't be lied with chicken and gurues. Ask for good roads. There is a young man from my place who fell down with milk, taking milk to the shopping center. There are no good roads for them. And you know, most people are hardworking. All we need is good roads, give us good schools, give us good health centers. That's what we need. We don't need somebody gifting us with goodies like chicken and all that kind of thing.
Right.
We need somebody who is bringing development so that people can be helped. And when people start understanding that it is my right and I can stand against this reader is my servant. He should listen to me. He should not do what he wants. He should listen to me so that he can enable me to do my work well. He's just there as a representative of the people, but the power belongs to the people.
Right. And you know, Nelson, there's such an important point that I believe I've picked up from Kerry is that so much power is vested on elections in the country in terms of who you're going to put up in office or put in office within that election year. And then after that, for the period of 4 or 5 years, you're not allowed to sort of voice your frustrations against this leader because there'll always be a rebuttal about, you know, I've not had enough time in office, give me enough time in office. But how about other options that are there, including, you know, picketing, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, Article 37. Talk about petitions. You're allowed to deliver a petition either to your MC or to your member of parliament. Talk about using the corridors of courts. If somebody is doing something that you believe is not legally correct, you're allowed to as well go to the court. And so much power has been vested on elections, but we also forget that in between this period where they're in office, you can do so much more rather than just saying, I'm waiting for the next election period, I'm not going to vote them back into office.
What I can say is I'll reiterate my earlier statement that we are so used to the past that we have not come to reality of what the Constitution 2010 gives us. For fact is that when the HR recruits you in a company, they'll always discipline you at some point. They'll reprimand you when the same applies to the country. That you elect people during elections, but through other mechanisms, you have to check whether these people are delivering what they promised or not. It's true. It's through this that we breathe life to the Constitution, because for most, like for the 14 years, we've had a lot of challenges with governance because we can't tell our views. We have a constitution that we created, the people voted in the constitution knowing that we were doing away with the police force and coming up with a police service. But the police are not do not have the reality of what we expected. We wanted a friendly force, one that will offer services to the people. But what we see is the police force that was there in the 90s, that when people will go for protests, they will be beaten up. And that has been the challenge that you see. The other challenge has always been amongst the Kenyan people, that you protest against a government. You want, let's say, like when the Gen Zs went to protest in July.
Yeah.
The demand was to take away all the cabinet secretaries and don't recycle anyone else. So when the president made appointments, he was very calculative. He did it, took someone from the coast, took someone from the from Western region, Nyanza, and everyone celebrated that now our person is in the cabinet. Now we are very happy. Now we even won't go for any protest. So we are so used to the past that changing our perceptions about governance will be a problem, and that is what we need to get rid of. Yo mazoea. If we get rid of it and will ensure that we implement the constitution as it is, then it will be safe on our side.
Right. All right. Kerry, I'll come to you. One of the key tenets as well of democracy is active and meaningful participation of citizens in public affairs. And Kenyans have been given an opportunity through the constitution to be able to participate in legislation, especially through public participation. But this is one of those things that even the courts are still trying to guide legislators and various movers of motions that there has to be public participation. What is public participation and how should that be done to the effect or to the extent that it meets the threshold of the constitution or just the threshold of just how a bill should pass, so that they have a voice as well in the public issues and the legislation in the country?
First, I think what I would state is democracy in this country is completely an illusion. People, through public participation, sometimes, according to what I understand, is that people should be involved in everything that the government want to do. They should involve the people. But according to what happens in our current government, you come to realize that people are not involved. And since people are not involved, we as I told you, people get oppressed. People are not organized. People don't want to run. They don't want to understand how these things go. They don't want to understand how the government works. The reason, even if I go to a public participation and I don't want to understand that bill that is going to Parliament, what it states and how it affects me, the person who we have elected to be our representative should come to us first and should ask us, what do you think? He should take our opinions, because this is a government of the people by the people. But what happens in this country, you find out that because democracy has not been very well articulated, you find that it's something that it's like an illusion. It's not there. It's about money. It's about the party that is there. And some people even pay to be in that party. And they use a lot of money to get to power. You get to power to misuse the power, not to serve the people. Like where I live in Georgia, there is this case whereby there is the area MP of Georgia has given a certain project for construction of a road. That road is in a very bad condition. It's called Morera Road. And it's in a very bad condition. I think even people are suffering a lot. Because in that road, even your children, when they go to school, they are tired. The road is in a very bad condition. Why? Because he gave this contract to his to her own sister.
Allegations, I'd say.
Not
because
no.
are you able to substantiate
yeah,
that?
it's a case in the court. That's why the road is not being constructed, because somebody realized that the project had been given to the sister to the MP, and they reported the case. So there's some court proceeding going on about that. And I just want to say that is disrespect to that constitution, because you see the chapter 6 of constitution, there is a place that says one responsibility of a leader should not be influenced to make a decision through nepotism and favorism. But we have seen that member of parliament doing that. So the reason he's doing that is because he believes, I'm in this seat not because of you. I paid you to make me a member of parliament. He's not there because of you. He's there because of himself. And because of those personal interests, it has made people not get fitted into this government. And that's why you see everybody is angry whenever government is brought to place. You saw the same MP alleging that they were paid 2 million. Although he went to parliament to apologize, he was saying they were being paid to pass the finance bill. Meaning the whole parliament has been bought. It's under somebody's direction. Somebody who has no heart for this country. So, in real sense is this, how do you expect me to believe that democracy can be practiced when the people who are going to represent me, they have been bought money, and they come to you and tell you, I used my money to be here. So he didn't use the right way to get into the office. He says he used his money to dish to the people, and he was elected.
Yeah. So
he will not go there for your reason. He will go there for his own interest, and his interest is the only thing. And that's why you see in where I come from the mountain, there is a lot of fights because there is a lot of jealousy. Why this person, and that's why you see them crashing, because there are some people who have been given something to beat the other person. It's called divide and rule. So when we really think about the people, if my only interest is politics, if my only interest is how I'm going to gain about the next election, they don't care about the next generation. Their work there has been it's just to enrich themselves, most of them. And that's why I say, even if I go for public participation, even if I go whenever they call for that, are they going to really listen to my voice? Finishing up with my point, I will just use an example where government never listened to the people. From where I come from, there was some case sometimes when there was France. There was a roadside in my area that claimed lives of 3 people. And there was 3 days they were searching for 3 bodies. In fact, one of the person who died on that roadside was a child of my cousin. May his soul rest in peace. And I remember very well, I went there for all those 3 days. The first day they brought tractors, labeled Kiabu County. And there were 10 tractors there. And the people were telling them, we are sure the bodies are there. And they were telling even the governor, the area MP, the bodies are there. But they could not listen. They would continue digging more where the roadside is, and even it fell again. The third day, the people boycotted the government and told them, take out your tractors here. And the people came with their jembes and they dug from that side. And within 6 hours, the young people from that area had discovered those 3 bodies. What does that tell you? The government is there even to make money with dead people. Those people are told the bodies are there, but they could not go and take them from there. Within the third day, 6 hours, people had taken those bodies out of there. Meaning the government that we have currently, most of them are there for their own personal interest. You can't come and say you are delivering because you are giving people chicken. You can't come and say you are delivering because you are giving people pig rates. That's not what you are elected to do. We need good infrastructures. We need good roads. We need good schools. We need good hospital. Like in my area, you know, the reason I'm using that example is because I want to bring your point at home. There is a hospital that had been constructed for the last, I don't know, that 14 years. It has never been completed till today. The people of that area suffer a lot because they have been ignorant. Even even if people are not ignorant, if they came and, as I said from my first point, if people get organized, it will be easy for them to counter the government, and their rights will be listened to, and I believe that a democracy will be practiced well, because people, sometimes you find them saying, mimi sitatoka kuchaguana, because hata nikichaguana hakuna kitu itakuja. One of the things that have made us fail is because people have been ignorant into a point wanasema hatutachaguana. Na the reason wanasema hivyo ni because they have been frustrated, they have been kept in fear, they have been oppressed to a point that they don't believe in this government anymore. Hata ukienda hapo kwa mtaa unakutanga watu wakisikia hati kuna mheshimiwa anapita, toshine kedo, like give us something, because you have been, they believe that's what he was elected for. Ukikuwa na shida yako, mazishi yako, alete pesa. Right. Do you know, even when these people come to do campaigns, tuseme mko na chama ya wamama, and you are there doing your campaign, do you know this person never even listen to what you are saying? He never listen to your ideas. Bora tu amewapea pesa, yata kuja tu hapa na gari kubwa, he gives you money, and he leaves. Even he didn't listen to whatever you want to do. And since you mweka hapo pamoja for 1 year, you have never even been able to save 10,000, and somebody gives you 50,000, you are going to believe in him, and you are going to give your votes to him. So you have sold your rights to someone to go and misuse those rights to oppress you more, and that's why we see that the democracy have been at stake. Although maybe there have been some good advantages about this devolution government, we have seen there, apart from these corruptions and such things like I was telling you, apart from us having leaders that are not there for the people, I think the constitution was a very, very good dream for this country. Now, if we can get the right leaders, I believe this country can go from even a third world country to a first world country within a very short time.
Right. Nelson, the politics of tokenism basically is a big hindrance to the growth of a country. But does it stem back to the fact that perhaps the country's economy also stipulates the country's political landscape in terms of whoever brings out the best of the country's economy, whoever puts money in our pockets, whoever does this will be able to get into those positions of leadership. And also for the political class, also using that to the advantage that, you know, if I can get into this position, I'll be able to promise people that I'll do this for them, I'll do that for them, and I'm able to show it through these tokens that they get. You know, they basically dictate each other on just who is put into office as well as the situation in the country economically.
Personally, I don't believe in if tokens can really change our politics. However, before I make other comments,
yes.
I have said time and again that it's all about social contract, that people need to understand that they're putting these people to government and they need to account for each step they make. They need to be they need to account. For instance, member of parliament. A member of parliament needs to each time a legislation is being passed in parliament, needs to always go back to the, because he gets a mileage allowance, to go back to the to his constituency, to seek opinions. It doesn't, and the problem that we've been facing is that you find an MP being dictated on how to vote on a certain bill. He doesn't know how it affects his constituencies, but he will vote regardless because the party leader has said that he needs to vote this way. See, like people like us who come from areas, tea growing zones, find that in Kiambu, the prices the farmers get there, and in Nyamira where I come from, the prices are different. You wonder, is the quality in Kiambu more? Is it more better than what's in Nyamira, or is it better than what's in Nyahururu? It doesn't beat logic because most of these members of parliament just vote, and that's what we are avoiding. Coming back to maybe actually it's corruption in election.
Not tokenism.
Yeah, it's corruption.
Yeah.
They just put trying to give it a fancy name. That actually democracy does not permit us to have such bad manners when we are doing election. Such persons should not even vie for those positions. Democracy, to my understanding, is that you get the best candidate, the person who is the people's choice, because this person will go to maybe the House of Legislation and will always think about the people, because it's a government of the people. Yeah. Even the president, when he's been elected, he won't force bills that are not people-centered. He will always consider the people, because the people are the people who have given him power. So at all times, the people should matter in any policy structure, in any kind of governance. Yeah. They will always consider the people. If we are looking at finance bill, will it affect the people? To what extent? Then the state of the economy. Yes, politicians have always taken advantage of these situations. But if we have a good governance, even giving me a token so that I can vote for you won't change my status of economy. But I was in Germany during the EU elections and observing the elections. Elections there, campaigns there are quite different from what we are having. See, like here, people expect a governor to come to maybe somewhere like Githurai. You will find the people there. But when you go to these developed countries, you will find these politicians calling out for people to come to their tents. Then there are more smaller. You'll find smaller crowds, not big crowds. Yeah. And you won't find anyone seeking for tokens. But here, we've reduced ourselves to being beggars. Yet we are the people giving these people jobs. Now that has always been the problem, that how can I go to these people, yet they do not know even what they want, because they'll always be begging for money if I go there. But if we respected ourselves as citizens, and when electing our leaders, we'll look at who is the best among these leaders, who will give us solutions to our problem. Then that will save us a lot, because we'll be electing people who will change our economy, who will change our social status, who will change our everything. But now, as citizens, we've reduced ourselves to being beggars, and that's us to blame, not the politicians. Yeah. Them, they've taken advantage of it so that they can get more money for themselves. Right.
I'd also love to get your view on the public participation, because for the 2010 Constitution, it was meant to enhance more participatory governance, especially for the electorates. Where we are now as a country, especially on public participation, are we getting it right? Do Kenyans know where they can go and actively participate in a legislation process? And on top of that as well, we've got regions in Kenya, for instance, the Northeastern. I'd give an example of the Finance Bill 2024, yeah? And during that public participation process, we saw them camp not in all counties, but just a few of them. And then largely they camped at one of the buildings just in Nairobi, where people would now go to them, stakeholders go to them and give their views. If you're in this marginalized area, you may feel like you do not have a place, or you do not have a voice, because you don't know where to go. You cannot travel all the way to Nairobi, maybe because of economic issues. So where are we with public participation?
I think we are not doing, government and us as a people, we are not doing justice to ourselves. Parliament gets a large chunk from the national coffers. Parliament can always be mobile.
Yeah.
I've seen Senate moving around, but the National Assembly, rarely. I've never seen the National Assembly having its sittings elsewhere. So it's high time that we looked at public participation in a different way. People need not to come to county hall for public participation on sensitive issues such as the finance bill. Parliament itself can always move to the people because at all times they'll make legislations that will not be pro-people and they'll suffer the consequences because you can say that we don't have that. Most of them, some of them are not bad leaders, but because of the choices they make with the others, then we assume they are not pro people. So when they go to the ballot, the likelihood of them losing elections are high. But it's high time we took public participation serious. The government, it's high time the government takes public participation serious, that Parliament becomes mobile. They move to each county. If it's possible, they go to constituencies.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Now let me just switch this to ethnicity. And I'd quote something that one of the key organizations in the continent was able to do research and said ethnic identity ties are seen as an obstacle to democratic nation building and reform. Now we are battling with ethnicity and tribalism on a whole different scale. And I know both of you are Gen Zs and millennials, so you've been alive to what has been happening on social media, especially with the trip that President William Ruto made to the Nyanza region. And we seem to now draw lines. Initially, it was a tribeless, partyless sort of movement, but it got to a point and that was infiltrated by talks of, this community, should not have done this, that community should not have done that. Kerry, with ethnicity, are we even winning that war on against tribal politics? Are we winning that war? Because we will see leaders, anytime they're campaigning, they will talk about this. The head of state has been very adamant that, he wants to do with tribal politics, but are we winning the war?
I don't think we are winning any war about tribalism. And one thing I would say is that President moving around the way he was moving around Nyanza region, central region, the Mount Kenya region, one of the things President wanted to see, he wanted to, these people are brought into government. It was about his interest. It was not about people's interest. And these leaders who are here currently knows, for me to be elected president of Kenya, I need certain tribes behind me. And the tribal politics have been there for a very long time. And I don't think it's changing soon, but we hope, we live under hope. I'm one person who believes in hope. But whatever we saw in all those campaigns, in all those visits he was doing, it was all about tribalism. The reason I want to say that is because when the Gen Z came, they came and they said, we are tribalists, we are leaderless. I saw Karen Nyamo saying that these young people are fools and all that. And that was a very wrong statement coming from her. Because also, again, in chapter 6 of our constitution says that, in a certain crowd says that a leader should demonstrate respect for the people. And according to me, that was not respectful. She looked like she was somehow drunk speaking these kind of words to our young people. And I believe I would say this to the young people and to the Gen Zs. Anybody following Karen Nyamu, you are doing a wrong thing. Because Karen Nyamu...
What are you saying? They should not follow her?
Yeah, because she's not demonstrating any respect to you.
Leadership.
She doesn't. Because how can you wake up in the morning and you are saying I respect the constitution, and you wake up one morning and you start calling people fools? She might be right in a certain way, saying that, yes, these people didn't have radar, they were left out. But let me tell you, Gen Zs have not gone away. The government can think they have won against Gen Z. But when they come the second time, it will be something massive. It will be something that will make them wonder, why did I call these people fools? Let me tell you, the power belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to one individual person. And one of the things that I can say, whatever Ruto did, going to all those regions, he was not going there to launch those projects. We have seen this young man called Morara going around and showing that these people just launch projects. And you can go maybe, for example, to Meru, where we saw the president saying they have given money to construct that bridge. Not until it killed another 10 people and 2 children died on that road again. And why do you come to launch project? Why don't you come to commission them? You see, now the reason I would give for the president going to all those rallies he went and all those homecoming, alikuwa anaenda kuona ground itasemaje. Unaona? He was there for his own political interest. Now, one of the things that the president is afraid of is afraid that I may go working and I may lose connection from the ground. I have to protect my seat first, and then I can come and serve Kenyans. Because politics in our countries are very hostile, especially those politics of tribal. Because, you know, the deputy president will come with his own needs and will say, I need this for my people. Now the president, someone else will come with the same needs. Unajua uko ni mimi nasikizwa. And it is true. If you go to Mount Kenya, the person who is anasikizwa on the ground side, it is Rigathi Gachagua. And you know all the people fighting Rigathi Gachagua. You know, politics has a way. Maybe even in 2027, maybe Gachagua will be competing with Ruto. Maybe Kalonzo will be behind Rigathi Gachagua. Because they are looking, you know, the reason one of the reasons Kalonzo has always gone behind Raila is because Kalonzo has always believed that one day Raila will come and support me. Because the tribe I come from is Kamba. They are around 2 million people, you know. And the western side, Nyanza yote, where he comes from, those people believes in Baba. And Kalonzo knew if Baba supports me and that region support me, I'm going to be the president. All these people are just looking on which tribe is strong. And that's why you hear them saying, you can never be president if the Mount Kenya is not behind you. And that's why you see there is a lot of divide and rule in Mount Kenya. Because if the president doesn't divide, you had, was it Rocco, the MP from is it Chicago? Berry North. That MP came and said that the mountains have been divided into 2, east and west. And he said Kindiki is the one ruling on the east and Gachagua on the west. Why are they using these kind of statements? It's to show Ruto, if Mount Kenya will not support you, a certain kind of mountain will be behind you. The whole Nyanza places will be behind you. So you are going to become the president. So where does the president take development? He will take it to those people because he believes those people will vote for him through these leaders that he brought to government, Akina Opiyo Wadai and all those kind of people. And he brought them there because of his own interest, not the interest of this broad-based government they are talking about. He just said, which will be an easier way for me to say in 2027 to become the next president of, to continue with my presidency of this country. And he looked for the easiest way, is to swallow them all, to become strong, and to wipe everything that will try to weaken my position. Yeah. And that's why you see even this young man trying to correct him a lot, Mr. Morara, is saying the president called him. Because so many people have been following this young man, and you know people like when you are telling them, you know this guy has taken a very big risk. You know politics, sometimes we used to have fear before. But because of the social media and everything that is bringing right to everything that is happening, now the people in politics are having fear. I cannot eliminate people just the way I want. I can just call them and we speak, we come up with a solution, and I try to give him a job so that he can shut up, and I show him vinye tunafanyanga huku. So for my statement is that I will tell you that was just politics, na alikuwa tu anazunguka kuona ground inasema aje, na kuambia sasa this is the leaders of that area to say mjue sasa tunafuata huyu. Na wakasema now the Baba is in government. You saw even our own deputy president saying so, and saying at there is no way two president can come and say Baba is good, I say he's bad. So it's a clear statement that this is a big win for Ruto. But I can say, don't joke with politics. In 2027, he doesn't know, they can turn against him. It's if he keep people's interest first, he can be even in more safer side, because people will say, when Ruto was there, this happened. But what if Ruto doesn't make it in 2027? People will keep to saying the right president, because all we have seen Ruto doing, our president has just been going around launching projects, stating money that is not there. Currently now, I was just looking at these papers and I saw he is in China, looking for money, because there is crisis, there is teacher strike. The doctors are now saying they are going to strike again, because when you don't get involved, the way you are talking about the public participation, you don't want to bring people's ideology even into your own manifesto. You know, as I told you, politics in this country are very hostile. Now, they will always be tribal unless we get to change. Maybe this Gen Z is a revolution that we may change this whole thing. And we erect a president of not based in tribe, but based in good policies and ideologies for the people.
All right, Nelson, how do we draw the line, or at least where do we draw the line between regional politics and tribal politics?
Ideally, in a democratic space, ideologies, beliefs, and ethos should be the ones dictating the kind of direction a country will take. However, now the problem with us has always been the tribal card, and the tribal card has been used not for. Ruto is not the first one to pull it. The first president used it, and you know, Kanu used to be a party that had the major tribes, the Luo, the Kikuyus. Then Kadu had minority tribes, and at one point the president saw that I'll be losing a lot of votes maybe when we come to election in '69, and he said, why don't I coerce these people? We have a merger of the two parties, so we have one. Then I'll have consolidated my votes into one, and that was easier for him. Then Moi came. Moi used to have kingpins in every region. He had Jackson Angaine in Meru. He had Sagini and Onyonka in Kisii. Everywhere he used to have someone who knew what was happening within the tribal circles. Then Gema and Gamatuza came, something like that. And that has always been what dictates our politics. But to some extent, it has not paid well, because looking at Kenya in the 60s, in the 70s, Kenya is becoming worse on matters development. You walk in town, there's a lot of disorder. And if you have a conversation with older people who are in Nairobi in those days, they'll tell you those people who are in power those days will listen to people. The other challenge about regional politics is that these people feel that they have the power within themselves, that they do not. It's not the people who have donated the power to them, so they'll do anything. If it's stealing money, they'll steal. So the people won't be involved in any of the the decision about how resources are governed within the system. So it's high time, and maybe because of the age that we live in, it's high time we brought our society to order. It's high time, and probably at times I say that census, when we do census, a lot of cookings of the statistics is done to favor certain people because of their political interest. So at times, unless we start embracing professionalism and also following democracy to its dictate, then we will be safe. But if we vote, but you see, even during this Gen Z revolution, there are people who pulled out when the appointments were done, and they celebrated the leaders who were appointed. And then you see, these people have been in power. What have they done? Some of us became disappointed, but what can we do? Democracy is a work in progress within the country. And as he said, he's a believer of hope. I'm also a believer. I believe that at one point we will stop seeing people from this is a person from a high, that this is a person from a community. He needs to get to power. He needs to get to this job and embrace meritocracy. That you elect someone based on his merits and what the promises that he makes, and also being sure that he will deliver it.
Right. All right.
But
so,
also, I feel that the problem is on our kind of elections that we have. That we have our one-tier election, that we elect the president at the same time as we elect the governors and the other positions. If we had a two-tier system of elections, maybe it will cure a lot. Because in the US, you have members of parliament who are Democrats, but will always critique the president because the constitution of the Republic of the United States of America saw it wise to do so, because I find that during elections, if you campaign alongside the president, you will always dictate you on what to do. But if you have midterm elections and then you have the presidential elections, everyone will ensure that he serves the people on the contract they signed with the people. So it's, I think maybe as
Kenya should follow that route.
In future, maybe that's the route that we should take.
All right.
It will save us a lot. Maybe we will now be everyone will be accountable of the contract they signed. You never signed a contract with the president. It's us who elected you. If the president financed you, then that's another thing. But us, we want to know that you promised us roads. Do we have roads?
If not,
you promised to give quality legislations when you go to parliament. How many times have you been to parliament? Because that was your primary role, that you will go to parliament, make legislation. Have you ever spoken to in parliament? You've not. You've never spoken. You are a mouthpiece in parliament. You've never spoken in parliament. Then you do not need to be in parliament again, or we need to recall you because you are not doing your job.
All right. All right, so gentlemen, we're out of time, so I'll give you each 30 seconds to just wrap it up. I'll begin with you, Kiari. State of democracy in Kenya, in final words, just wrap it up in 30 seconds, please.
Okay, I'll just say the biggest failure in life is fear. And you know, like through the people we have elected to be our representative, there are people living under fear. And they are living under fear because they do things. You see, like the bursary. Let me just finish with this point. When we talk about bursary, it is given to MCA, to senator, to even women rep, to governor, and to everybody in government, even the MPs. They are being told, make it a one thing so that we can make education free. But because these people live under fear, if I don't give these people bursary, they will not elect me again. if I don't go to the people and show them I'm helping them, you are putting a poverty mindset among our people. Instead of coming and maybe giving them or working for them or doing what the Constitution has told you to do, you just do things in a way that you are just oppressing, you are putting more oppression to the people.
Yeah.
I'll just finish with these few words and say, if you are a Christian, you use the Bible to ask God for things, for blessings. And you say, God, you know, according to your word, you said you will bless me, and you state even the verse and you tell God, please, if you have said that in your word, you can do it for me. And maybe God will do it for you if you are a Christian and you believe in that kind of way. So, the leaders of this country, we will use the Constitution. Use the Constitution to come and tell them, the Constitution says here, you are supposed to do this thing to me, or to our community, or to our area, but you're not doing it. You can use the Constitution to just know how everything should run in the government and everything.
Yes. All right, Nelson, final word.
My final word will be, let us breathe life to the Constitution. The power belongs to us. Let us participate fully to the public good of our society. That if you see a wrong thing, shout. If you see that we need something to improve our country, speak up. Let's breathe life to our Constitution.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. On my immediate right is Nelson Omoyo, who's a political scientist, and just next to him is Kiarie Kenneth, who's a democracy and political expert. Asanteni sana for coming into studio this morning on the conversation around the state of democracy in Kenya. We're able to touch on various tenets of it, from the Constitution to public participation, as well as, this ethnicity divide that keeps on hindering the growth of Kenya's politics and even Kenya as a country at large. And we hope that will come a time when it will be a thing of the past and will be issue-based politics that we'll be talking about in the nation. So we wrap it up at that point. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Have yourself a wonderful morning. Coming up at the top of the hour is Your Faith Today with Reverend Felix Kavoy. So keep it EBN TV. Don't go anywhere.